The Virtues of Stones by Damigeron. Very cool book. I got to page 20. The Virtues of Stones by Damigeron. Very cool book. So I've completed the entire book, The Virtues of Stones by Damigeron. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's probably pretty close. The second half of the book is the same as the first half, but in Latin. And I don't need to read the Latin version. I just read the English version, which is pretty short. It's only 33 pages long, and every single page is about a different stone and the different magical properties of the different stones, like sapphire, topaz, some more exotic stones I've never heard of, but some rare stones like diamond, but some common stones you could probably get a hold of, like obsidian, some I've never heard of, like corallius, diatachon. I'm sure you could find these on eBay or a stone store. And you know those crystal or just mineral stores, you can see a wide variety, and sometimes you do see some claims on the packaging. Oh, the stone melasse is sprinkled with stars. It is also called citrus. It's good for blessing and blah blah blah, victory, disturbing the enemy against attacks, magical attacks, evil doing, and poison. You know, I wouldn't necessarily trust a stone to protect me from poison, alright? I'm gonna protect myself from poison by not eating poison, but if you get poisoned, you're gonna get your stomach pumped at the hospital. You're not gonna rely on some stone. But obviously the ancients heavily relied, or did they? This could be simply the type of manual that Damigeron put together to be sold as a novelty. But it does seem to be like legitimate ancient beliefs of the properties of stones, the magical properties. So I'm not going to doubt that these aren't legitimate ancient beliefs. They all seem to be pretty legitimate. A lot of them focus around dreams and protection against evil eye, protection for pregnant women, good for birth, good for the milk for the baby, just all kinds of random stuff that the typical peasant would be concerned about. So they might buy this and employ some of the practices, but it definitely is a form of magic. You could call it black magic. I mean, I guess putting a obsidian stone next to your bed, they claimed obsidian. You know, the book claims obsidian protects against negative dreams, nightmares. And I guess putting a obsidian stone next to your bed isn't necessarily black magic, because I guarantee there are people with obsidian decorative stones next to their bed right now, and they don't know about this book or anything about the mythologies connected to it. So no, having a stone next to your bed isn't necessarily magic or black magic. And I'd say this book definitely does not lean in the direction of black magic, but it does, some of it resembles Kabbalah. Putting the stone and grinding it up, putting it in a thread and threading it around your arm. Sounds pretty similar to the Kabbalah string, Kabbalists, where the trendy ones in Hollywood wear around their wrist to protect against the evil eye or bewitching or whatever the case. I personally don't believe in that, yet I do believe magic does exist. I don't practice magic, I'm an anti-occultist. I believe it exists. It's the reason I don't practice it. If I didn't believe it existed, I wouldn't have any problems practicing it for fun to test it out for you guys. But I don't want to test it out for you guys. As far as finding some of these stones, putting it next to your bed, I don't recommend it, but I don't really have much to say against it either. These are very ancient folklore, ancient urban legends, if you will, and it's a pretty harmless book. There's definitely nothing in here that talks about summoning. It's all about banishing and protecting against. So they don't mention anything on the negative spectrum. It all seems to be on the positive spectrum of protection. But it also seems like a good guidebook for a rock salesman selling rocks. Oh, this does this. Here it is right there. Therefore, it's a fact. I don't know how seriously the ancients took this book. They might have taken it lightheartedly, like it was, that's just a superstition some people believe in. I don't. It might have been as serious as a black cat crossing your path or walking underneath a ladder. It's hard to say. I would say possibly a few people practice it, maybe thousands of people practice it. But the stone lithiite, useful against night spirits, useful against nightmares, night demons. Half of these stones mentioned in this book are useful against the same thing. And then there are protection stones, protect you against this, protect you against that, make you eloquent, make you handsome and beautiful. I don't know any stone that's going to make you handsome and beautiful, but if every single stone protects against very similar things, I don't really get the point. I mean, it to me comes off as a fortune teller salesman. It comes off as a this does everything, yeah. You know, like I don't know what this stone is called right here. Don't know what it is. Something extremely common, probably not mentioned in the book. The book does mention mostly precious and semi-precious stones. But I could just go to a random stone and it'll tell you the same thing as the previous one. The stone Serunite. Let's see what Serunite does. Egyptians called Smaragda, found in places where there was a lightning strike, said to be formed by clouds rubbing against each other. Well, I guarantee it wasn't formed by clouds rubbing against each other. But let's see what the magic properties are. If one remains chaste while wearing this, he will never be struck by lightning. Okay, you know, that's a long shot anyway. Most people are not going to be struck by lightning. It's pretty rare. Danger from whirlwind and thunder. That's super generic. It brings victory and conflict to him who wears it. It will be all-conquering. Good dreams. Every single one of them seems to say good dreams. But I seriously doubt if you wear this while in battle, you will be victorious. Don't trust a stone. I would trust my wits, weapons, and just the protection and the defense. Let's go to another one. The stone Exebinus. white and beautiful, cures stomach ache. Taken in a drink of water. Don't recommend you smash up a stone and drink it. Just my advice. Sobers, drunkards, and lunatics. Seems like an ancient hangover remedy, but don't recommend it. It's very suitable for the pleasures of love. Don't recommend it. Relieves pain in the bladder. Probably does the opposite. Hastens birth. No. I'm not saying Damigeron is necessarily a scammer. I'm just saying the stories he compiled. I'm not saying that the book's not true. It's definitely a true account of mythology. And it's definitely pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Coral. You know, the coral from the ocean. It can apparently never be caught by any poison or attacked by lightning. Just like the other one. Poison and lightning protection. Unconquered, powerful. Oh my gosh. Preserves from crime. Appearance of demons. Idle dreams. Lightning stroke. So that just gives you a gist of this book. It's still pretty cool. And I'm not going to employ any of the practices endorsed in the book. They're definitely very ancient and very limited in their approach. I'll take my chances being struck by lightning or being poisoned. But those were real fears back then. And the evil eye and evil dreams, negative dreams, they didn't have TV, they didn't have radio, they didn't have the internet. They had other worries on their mind. It's an interesting book. This is my book review of The Virtues of Stones. If you're a huge fan of the mythology, of the magical properties of stones, I recommend it. But the definitions and descriptions are limited. It doesn't go into too much detail, and it seems pretty repetitive. The reason I bought this book is I was investigating magical stones. I heard about magic stones which have the ability to cause you to see into the future or see into the past or X-ray vision. I was looking for a cool definition, a description like that. I did not find it in here, but I'm not disappointed. You got to continue to search. Do such stones exist? I heard a stone with a hole naturally in it. You can see through it and see a portal into another dimension or the future or the past or whatever. It's called like a witch stone or witch's stone or something like that. I'm not an expert, but I like the process of learning and researching, and that's what it's all about. Sure, if I found a stone on the beach with a natural hole in it, sure, I would look through it, and if I saw something amazing, I would talk about it in a video. I wouldn't consider that the practice of any magical practice. Just, you know, you're having fun on the beach. I have found stones with holes in them, and that is not described in this book. Just certain minerals, different stones, precious and semi-precious, are mentioned in here. As far as the ancient legends, modern legends of magical stones, I became somewhat interested in that subject and will continue to research it off and on. But I'm going to continue to investigate and research other magical texts. I simply have a goal of reading every single magical book on my bookshelf, or books with the esoteric subject. A lot of people have 1,000 books on their bookshelf and they don't read them. They're just decoration. This book is high quality, bound in actual leather. I would have to say this version is very high quality. I saw the picture online, thought it was 10 times bigger, but I'm not disappointed because it's very high quality. There are cheap, razor thin leather versions, and then there are high quality versions that actually smell like leather, like this one. So this one's very nicely done. If I have my book bound in leather, I would like it to be at least this good. Very immaculate. The end papers are very cool. I'm a huge fan of just the beauty of how a book can be preserved and reproduced and kept in the physical form. I don't have a Kindle. I prefer physical books. I have 1,000 PDFs that I did download of ancient manuscripts and 100-year-old books that I couldn't find, and they're freely downloadable on the internet. So if I ever did get a digital something to look at them, it would just be for PDFs, not for Kindle. So I'm not against PDFs that you can't find the extremely expensive versions of, but I'm a huge fan of the physical book. I like physically flipping through it. And until next time, I have many more books to review, magical, esoteric, occult books. My perspective, take it or leave it, but I do know magic is real. I do know spirits are real. But knowing that, I'm not sucked into books that talk about spirits and stones and automatically jump to the conclusion that it's automatically authentic. I have to have a personal experience before I know if any of a certain thing works, but I don't practice magic, so you're not going to get too much information from me on how to do this ritual, how not to do this ritual. I don't do that, although I will conduct experiments that I seem to be pretty neutral from time to time. I tried the Charlie challenge a couple years ago because everyone was trying it. There was like a safe window in my mind, and that window is gone, so don't try it. It's the equivalent of a Ouija board. I do not recommend that. I just ordered a couple lucky coins. I might be testing those out. A lucky coin is about as generic as the application of something as it gets, and I don't consider that to be bad at all. It's pretty neutral. So a lot of these things are neutral, but some of them get into the dark realms of not neutral, of stay away from that. But you have to use your own judgment. I use my own judgment, and I'm not a perfect example. Perhaps I will make mistakes, but I don't think collecting and reading esoteric books is a mistake. Knowledge is power. Information is neutral. What you do with that information is what depends on whether it is going to be positive or negative. So far, I haven't, in my opinion, done anything negative with the information I've learned from these books. But it has given me insight as to the world of the magical, the world of the occult. There is a secret world, kind of like the Harry Potter books describe, but it's not as black and white as Muggles versus wizards. It's not as black and white as that. And it's also not as black and white as witches versus mundanes, or magi versus mundanes, initiated sorcerers versus the general public. Although they could make a movie on that. It would be kind of a Men in Black type movie, I think, where, wow, I know, and other people don't know. That is a perspective that I do feel like I am coming from, having had contact with negative entities. It's kind of a Men in Black scenario where I do know these things exist, but no one believes me, or at least some of you out there believe me. Trust me, I have a sense of humor. I make jokes, and my jokes aren't received on Twitter all the time. Sometimes people laugh, oh, that's funny, haha. Sometimes people don't get the joke, and that's fine. My sense of humor is a little weird. But I have a sense of humor, and I've always had a sense of humor. Before I encountered any spirits, I always had a sense of humor, and I'm not going to lose it. And I think losing your sense of humor, you lose some of your humanity. So I got to retain that sense of humor. Even if there's a freaking demon next to me trying to harass me, I'm not going to lose my sense of humor. Because the second you lose that, they've won. And it sounds like a crazy conversation. It sounds crazy. And I understand the perspective of the other side of the Men in Black scenario, where the Men in Black knows about the aliens, the general public doesn't know about the aliens. But in my opinion, there are no aliens that have landed on this planet. I think there are billions, if not zillions and trillions and kabillions of aliens on inhabited planets out there in the universe. The math says that. As far as them being close to us, we don't know, because we have to find one intelligent civilization before we can even calculate. It could be a billion advanced civilization inhabited planets per galaxy. It could be 100. It could be 10. We don't know. But what we do know is there isn't any solid concrete proof that they've landed. People have speculated they're probably going to send drones before they send their own. We are sending drones out. We just crashed Cassini into Saturn. That was cool. I stayed up for that. I know there wasn't any live information. I was hoping for a few more still photographs. But I guess Cassini was transmitting information about the actual atmosphere. And during the transmission of that information, Cassini wasn't transmitting actual photographs. So that's why we didn't get a barrage of new photographs of what the inside of Saturn looks like. But perhaps they did, and NASA has some secret treasure trove of 1,000 photographs. Maybe they're just of black and gray screens. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I try to focus on the facts, even when they're magically, historically sourced. Magic exists, the occult exists, spirits exist. I know this from a first-hand perspective of not reading a book, because I didn't read a single or buy a single occult book. When these experiences happen to me, I try to focus on the facts, even when they're magically, historically sourced. Magic exists, the occult exists, spirits exist. I know this from a first-hand perspective of not reading a book, because I didn't read a single or buy a single occult book. When these experiences happened to me about 6 years ago. But 7 years ago. I've rambled on way too long. Hey, guess what? I'm gonna live stream stay tuned for that. My very first live stream ever. I'm gonna live stream for the first time ever in the history of my channel, John Razimus, Hoax Hunter, Occult Unmasked, Pyramidal. I've never live streamed ever. I'm gonna do it for the first time. Stay tuned for that. But I'm going to try to do this a couple times, see how it goes. Maybe I'll live stream on a regular basis. I want to really thank the patrons on Patreon. I really thank you guys for supporting me. I want to thank Maurice, who has donated and pledged to an extreme degree. Because of Maurice, I was able to afford a live stream HD camera. It's a Logitech gaming streaming camera. And according to the specs, it streams at an optimal rate, and so it'll be better than just a regular webcam. And I'm extremely grateful to Maurice for that. I thank you for watching. Stay tuned. This has been John Razimus. Be seeing you.